decide, we had looked at the area in depth and we thought there's some potential here, but how can we get reliable supply? So we started to look at what was available in the way of local production. And at the time we were doing this, the moratorium was in place for Marcellus shale, so we knew we couldn't rely on that. And we thought, we know there are conventional vertical wells in the area, and let's see if we can look at some of those. So we've talked to several producers, and initially anyways, we've talked to the fellows at Norse, and they have a pipeline that runs down from Bradley Brook to DeRider. So you've got the Dominion pipeline that runs up from Corning is around here. Oneonta's around here. Sidney's down in this area. And then you've got another pipeline here, which is the NYSEG pipeline. They're a local distribution company. And this is Lake Ontario. And you've got Tennessee pipeline that runs here. So this Norse pipeline right now runs down this way to about the DeRider line. And they've got about 6,000 a day, 6,000 MCF of local production a day that they're bringing into either the DeRider line to serve NYSEG customers at Oneonta or into the DTI or Tennessee line. So 6,000 a day. 6,000 MCF there. A regular residential customer typically uses around 100 MCF a year. So they're bringing 6,000 MCF a day into these two different, this is an interstate pipeline, this is a local distribution system. So we took a good look at this, and there are some wells, my geography is not completely correct, there are some wells that are down here that are permitted wells. I think there's one actual hole in the ground, but they're permitted to be able to drill into the Herkimer formation, which is a sandstone. And there's no pipeline here. There's a plan to build a pipeline, but there's no pipeline down here. And then ultimately this pipeline would go down to the Millennium Pipeline, which will take gas, as these other pipelines do, out of state to Boston or downstate to New York. So what we call these wells, orphan wells. And we have a lot of orphan wells around Corning, New York, wells that aren't connected to anything. And it behooves the producer, the guy who drilled the well, to take those wells and connect them to either a pipeline he's going to build or this interstate system, through a pipeline, again, he'll have to build, or to a distribution system that somebody else is going to do.
Where are the orphan wells located?
The orphan wells, there are about 5 of them in the town of Coventry, along, I think it's Road 206 and 41 in that particular area. Now, I want to be careful about being specific about where we're going to exactly, because if we go down a route that is on some of those maps that I've given you, and the route hasn't been defined. The route is just an idea at this point, because before we can put any pipe in the ground, we have to get permission from all these different municipalities. So really what we're looking for is options, and we're looking to maybe potentially connect to wells in the town of Sidney, because if you look at where the map is on the presentation I've sent out to you guys, there's no need for us to go into the town of Sidney, because we're saying we want to connect to Coventry and go through Bainbridge and go into the village of Sidney. But we think that's very short-sighted. We want to have options. We don't want to just deal with one potential supplier. Okay? We want to deal with multiple producers. We want to deal with producers who can get in and drill now in existing formations, so it's not Marcellus shale drilling. There aren't going to be water issues. There aren't going to be environmental issues that people are afraid of. So this whole plan is targeted to work on existing technology with existing production methodology that is legal in the state of New York. But what we want to do is be able to connect these guys, potentially initially, to a low-pressure distribution system. That means they don't have to take this gas that's probably coming out of the ground at 300 psi, put it into a compression facility, compress it up to 1,000 pounds, and put it on an interstate pipeline. What we would do is we would build a interconnect, basically a city gate station. We would take this gas out of the ground at around 300 psi. We would reduce it to below 124 psi, bring it onto our system, and bring it to the businesses and homes in the area. And when it comes into your home, it's a few ounces of pressure. So you're not going to have 120 psi gas inside of your house. The Public Service Commission would never allow that anyway. So if we do this, these guys are going to be happy because they're going to have an inexpensive outlet to get gas to market. You guys are the market. We're going to be happy because what we make money off of is not the commodity part, not the gas itself. So if gas is $6 in MCF, where it's is for about a 12-month average going forward, if the gas goes up to $7, we don't make more money. If the gas goes down to $5, we don't make less money. And where we make our money off of is what it costs to transport every cubic foot of gas through that pipeline. And that's determined by the New York State Public Service Commission. Again, they look at the project that we want to build. They say it's going to cost you X amount to build it. And the customers you've identified could pay for this project in a reasonable amount of time with an allowed rate of return of 10% on top of whatever your project costs are. And then we would collect that over time. And that's the cost that you would see in your bill to transport that natural gas. Who you buy your natural gas from, you can buy it from us, you can buy it from another marketer, someone like the Moravitos or someone like Sprague or 1,000 different marketers you can buy your gas from. So it's going to be an open access system. We're not going to control who does business on our system or who you do business with if we're fortunate enough to build this system. But I've gotten off on a tangent a little bit about the finer points of buying and selling natural gas. But what I wanted to tell you is we know that these wells are here. We talked to the guys at Norris. They're willing to sign an agreement with us as far as us being able to buy natural gas from them. The reason that we want to look at the town of Sidney is we want to basically have an option to buy gas from other producers that may come into the area or producers that we can entice to come into the area because they know that there's a pipe there and they know that there's a ready market for their natural gas. So, yes, ma'am.